Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany, and so today I am going to answer a question that I received on YouTube. So I'm hoping to do more of these in the future. If you have a question about your human design chart, maybe even your astrology or both, please go ahead and leave a comment because I am really looking to get some more questions because the greatest questions come from people who are not me. So this is the question that I received. This individual is a splenic projector. And so here's what they say. I've been wondering about that because of something strange I experienced. I have a defined root center and I'm a splenic projector. About a month ago, two different people told me at almost the same time that I should post Instagram videos or start a YouTube channel to share my knowledge. I thought of it as an invitation, but honestly, I didn't feel any motivation or energy rising inside of me. Instead, what I felt for weeks was this weird pressure, like a voice in my head going, "Do it, come on, just do it already." Meanwhile, my mind was like, "No, I don't want to. It'll take too much time. I could use that time for something else. You don't even know if it will work, and it might not even be worth it." But that voice just kept repeating the same thing over and over again. "Do it, come on, just do it." Nothing more than that. And now the pressure's gone. The voice has stopped. I didn't end up doing anything, but it makes me wonder if I had listened to that voice, would life have brought me something that's actually aligned? So I would like to respond to this person's question, obviously without seeing their human design chart. So I'm not able to see every aspect of their chart, but it also begs the question, or a great topic to explore here is, how do the other defined energy centers play in our chart? And a lot of times they can act as a voice that we have to navigate or listen to or take into consideration, even though that defined or colored in energy center may not be the voice of our quote unquote authority from a human design perspective. So, first, I'm going to break down this question again without really knowing much else about this individual's human design chart, but then I'm going to run through what are the potential voices in a human design chart. Which energy centers are probably not a voice in the chart that you need to worry about? And then I'm going to run through some chart examples from different energy types. First, I'm going to address the invitation piece. So, as a reminder, this person is a splenic projector, and projectors, their energy type is designed the way they move through the world. They are here to wait for the invitation. That's essentially their manifestation strategy. And that's the way they live most aligned, is when they can do that. And this person is saying, I didn't feel any motivation or energy rising inside of me when I got that invitation. So, the first thing I want to say about this, and I tell every projector that I do readings with, this is really important. Just because you receive an invitation and you're a projector does not mean you should say yes. My answer to this piece, the thing I want to call out here is, yes, this is an invitation, but it's up to the projector to decide, is this thing energetically correct for me or not? Is this thing aligned for me or not? And if the answer is yes, then fantastic. That projector, once that invitation comes, that's when they tap into the authority, that voice of the authority. And in this case, with this individual having splenic authority, the intuitive hit of whether that thing was right for them or not should happen very quickly. What I want to say or caution projectors against is, don't see invitations as always being synchronicity or signs from the universe that you should do something. Invitations are really just things for you to be very aware of, and then tune into your authority and say, okay, is this energetically correct for me? Does this align for me? Does this align with my passions, with my interests? Does it align with the things that I see uniquely or that I'm really good at? Because that is when you have the choice. You say yes to the invitation or you say no to the invitation. So I really want to call that out. Okay, I want to break down the next part of this question. So they're saying here that there's this voice in the head, there's this weird pressure, and there's a lot of I don't want to, it'll take too much time. There's using logic. Here it's saying I could use that time for something else. Why would I use that time to develop Instagram content? I don't even know if it will work. It might not even be worth it. And so you can tell that what's happening is the mind is spinning stories. So we know from this question, if we go back to the original, we know that this person has a defined root energy center. First of all, if you are a splenic projector or manifestor, if the voice hits more than once and it's the same message, it's likely not your spleen. If the voice repeats and you're a splenic projector, you're a splenic manifestor, it's not necessarily your spleen. It may be coming from another voice in the chart, which I'm going to get to here in a second when I run through some examples. So that's number one. If the mind or the voice that you're experiencing is very logical, or it's telling a story, or it's asking a question like, what about this? What about that? It's likely not your authority. And it is up for this individual to decide if that is true for them, okay? Because they trump anything that I say, because they live their life and they have that lived experience. And from my lens as a human design reader, what I would say is that what was happening here is that this individual was sensing pressure from one of their pressure centers. So that's either the root energy center, and we know this individual has a defined root. There's this sense of pressure that comes from that center. Or if they had, say, a defined crown and there's pressure coming from there, what's happening, in my opinion, is that they're sensing pressure, this restlessness to do something, to take action, and the mind is starting to spin stories to make sense of it, to explain it, to question it, to providing logic, all of that stuff. And when the mind starts to spin stories, it can also tap into our fears, our wants, or maybe we feel like we're not good enough, or it can tap into all kinds of different things. So in my personal opinion, this individual did the right thing and just letting it kind of spin out. And my guess is that this was not energetically correct for them. I could be wrong. Again, I'm saying this based on not having a chart in front of me. Next, I want to talk about potential voices in a chart. This question that this person asked me really does get to the point that all of us, usually all of us except for reflectors, will have some defined or colored in energy centers in our charts that are not the voice of our authority. So, as a reminder, if you're new to human design, when we're talking about the voice of our authority, it's the intuition, or the knowing that we have whether or not something is energetically correct for us. You can think of it as that thing that tells you, that intuition within you, that's the decision maker. And our voice of our authority is going to trump any other voice in the chart. And in theory, it should also be trumping external voices. So what our parents say, what the person on YouTube says, including me, that voice of our authority should trump everything else, especially if we're really living our design and we're tuning in to what is energetically correct for us. So what I would like to point out with this slide is that potential voices in a chart, the way I was trained, are the solar plexus, this triangle that is on the right hand side. That is a voice in the chart. The spleen on the left-hand side, that triangle there, that is going to be a voice in the chart. The sacral, the square in the middle, that will be a voice in the chart. The ego or heart energy center can also be a voice in the chart. And then the G center there, the diamond shape, that can be a voice in the chart. And then the ajna center at the top, that mind center that has opinions and insights about things, that can be a voice in the chart. So what is likely not a voice in the chart is the crown energy center there at the top. That's a pressure center. The throat energy center there in the middle, that square towards the top. And then at the bottom, the root energy center. All right, so next I'm going to run through some examples. And as I run through these examples, I'm going to get into what these different energy center voices, quote unquote, might sound like, and what the characteristic of that voice is. So here I have a generator chart. You'll notice that the sacral is defined or colored in the center here. You'll see that this individual has also a defined solar plexus here on the right hand side. When you have a colored in or defined solar plexus in any chart, it doesn't matter, projector, generator, manifesting generator, manifester, that individual is going to have emotional authority. And so that's why I have here on the left hand side that the solar plexus is the voice of the authority. That is the voice, the solar plexus is going to trump everything else in the chart. That said, this individual throughout their life is going to be navigating two other voices. They're going to be navigating the sacral, which is that voice of desire, the thing that wants to really go, that gets excited about something, that really primal, like, I want to do this thing, but I don't know why. And they're going to be navigating with the defined or colored in G center. So, just a little refresher, solar plexus is emotional, meaning this person has an emotional wave. And so what they need to do, and what if they're living their design, is they need to learn to navigate that emotional wave. It behooves them to understand how their emotional wave works. So for example, some days they might wake up and they're in a really great mood. Some days they might wake up and they're not in a great mood. And they need to understand where their mood is at so that they can make sure that when they're making decisions, that they're not making a decision when they're in a great mood. Because if you make a decision when you're in a great mood but it's not aligned for you, then you're like, oh my gosh, why did I say yes to that thing, right? So when you have emotional authority, when solar plexus is that voice that's the strongest voice in the chart, the idea is to understand that, yes, I'm going to have this other voice, this sacral is going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to go on this beach vacation with all of these people next year. But the solar plexus needs time to process that desire and to say, okay, is this really right for us? Is this energetically correct for us? I need time to sit with that thing. So, this is more, again, when we're talking about the voice that trumps in the chart as far as decision making goes, it's really, really important to lean into that with major decisions where you're maybe spending a lot of money, or you're putting a lot of time or energy into something, or maybe you're making a big move in your life or a big change in your life. It's really important to lean into that. With this person, we've also got the G center here. And the G center is direction in life. And I do not have a defined G center, but my husband does. And I will tell you what he's shared with me. And hopefully this resonates for those who have a defined G center, because I don't have that lived experience. But the G center is kind of like an inner compass. It's the thing that is when you have it defined or colored in, it's this inner knowing of what direction in life is next for me. What direction in life am I meant to go? For example, I'll give you an example with my husband. He has always kind of known, he always has this inner knowing of what the next step is for him, whether that's a career move, a business he wants to start, a game he wants to develop, moving a physical location like across the country. He always seems to have this inner knowing of what's next and what's coming next. But he is a manifesting generator. And so, what I have observed happens with him is while he has this inner knowing, it's not necessarily that he immediately takes action and moves across the country or quits his job and get a different job or takes action on the thing. What happens is he waits until he gets his sacral response, which is his voice of his authority, before he takes the action on that thing. So, what I would say for anybody who has a defined G center, if you pay attention to that inner knowing within you about, you know what, I have a feeling I'm going to make a career shift in the next year, or I have a feeling I'm going to start a business, or I have a feeling that I might want to do life coaching, or you get this kind of internal knowing, this inner knowing about what is next for you. But what you will do is you will then wait for your authority to tell you when to take action on the thing. That's the best way I know how to describe it. So hopefully that helps you. I'm going to move on to the next example. All right, so I have a manifesting generator here. You will notice this manifesting generator has a defined sacral. They do not have a defined solar plexus on the right-hand side. So their authority, the voice that trumps everything, their decision maker is that sacral. It's that desire. What excites me? What is lighting me up right now? What is giving me energy, even though I don't know why, whether it's an idea or an actual thing that's happening. The other voices that this individual will be navigating or paying attention to or listening to is the spleen here on the left hand side. So that survival voice, because that energy center is defined or colored in. And this individual also has a G center, that sense of direction. So what I said earlier applies as far as G center, that kind of knowing of what's next. And so for this person, they're waiting for that sacral to tell them, okay, when is it going to be time for me to take a next step on the thing? For this individual going back, they would be waiting for the solar plexus to tell them, when is it time to do the thing? All right, so getting to the spleen. The splenic energy center is a energy center that speaks very quickly. It's where intuition lives. It's where the psychic gate lives. It's this knowing something in the moment, in the now, very quickly. It's that I smell a rat, something's not right here, get the heck out. It's that you're driving down the road and you're like, I need to turn left, I need to turn right, even though I don't know why I'm doing this. It's this instantaneous hit, and it's a survival voice. So this individual, while the sacral is their voice of their authority, and the sacral energy center can repeat. Like, I'm going to use a silly example. If you love bags or coats, I'm a coat person. I really love having different coats. If you like to have shoes and you just love shoes, and your sacral will hit over and over and over again about shoes, right? And it might love the same pair of shoes all the time. You might like pizza. And I have a repeating thing where I want to eat pizza on Friday nights or whatever. The sacral, that desire, that excitement, that message does repeat. Whereas with the splenic energy center, that message does not repeat. What's worth noting here is that when you have splenic authority, if you are getting a repeating message, it's probably not your spleen. It's probably coming from somewhere else, and that's okay. But the spleen is going to hit in the moment, and it's going to tell you when to take action on the thing, when to do the thing. So for this individual who's the manifesting generator with sacral authority, they're going to be going along life. They're going to get excited about things, but then they're also going to have the spleen that might pop up. For example, they might be running out of the house and their body stops them and they're like, oh my gosh, I forgot something. And that's the spleen talking. And, maybe they forgot their phone, or maybe they forgot their keys, something like that. So this manifesting generator will have that consistent spleen. Because this is defined or colored in their chart, they'll have that splenic hit that will help them out in situations where maybe they forgot something, for example. In this next example, we have another manifesting generator. This manifesting generator has solar plexus defined over here on the right-hand side, so they have emotional authority. They have that emotional wave that they're going to be considering and getting to know, because that's going to be part of their decision making process, is essentially understanding their mood before they're making decisions. And again, if you have emotional authority, you want to make decisions when you're feeling kind of neutral, not when you're in a low or not when you're in a high. Okay. But for this manifesting generator, they have a lot of voices in their chart. They have the sacral, which is going to be really important as a manifesting generator. There in the middle, which is all about desire and does this thing excite me or not? Does this thing light me up or not? There's also going to be the splenic voice there on the left-hand side, with which I just described to you. And then we've got the G center here in the middle. So they're going to maybe have this inner knowing about things. And then we also have the ajna center there at the top. And the ajna center is one I haven't talked about yet, but the ajna center is also the mind center. When you have a defined or colored in mind center, you have opinions about things. Your opinions, your judgments, your beliefs are a bit more grounded and a bit more rooted, and you're not likely to change them very often. I'm not saying you can't change, and I'm speaking from experience because I have an open ajna and my husband has a defined ajna, so I've seen the difference between us. But you're going to have these opinions about things. So that ajna center will be a voice in your chart that will sometimes hold an opinion or a judgment or a perspective or a point of view that is something that this individual is also going to be navigating. But again, at the end of the day, for this manifesting generator, they are going to listen to the solar plexus. In simplistic terms, for this person, they are going to note what excites them, and then they are going to wait a little bit and tune into that emotional authority to feel into whether something's energetically correct for them. And to do that, they really need a little bit of time. So 24 to 72 hours, something like that. All right. So the next example for this projector, they have ego authority or heart centered authority here on the right hand side. And they also have a defined G center, but they also have an ajna. So voices in their chart would be the ajna or the G center. So for this individual, when we're talking about the ego, think of heart longing, heart pulling. What does the heart want? What does the heart selfishly want? It's just this yearning for the thing. It's different than sacral excitement. Sacral is more, it's desire, excitement, energy lights me up. Think of the ego or the heart as like this pulling towards this. I selfishly want this thing, even though I don't know why. I selfishly want the title of a director, and I don't know why. I selfishly want to make $200,000 a year, but I don't know why. There's just this selfish want about it. And when I say selfish, I mean selfish in the good sense of the word. I do not mean it in a bad way, in any way. For this individual, because they have that heart-centered authority, they need to listen to that voice that selfishly wants things, and it's going to trump the G center with that direction. It's going to trump the ajna center with opinions or beliefs or judgments. For this individual, they may have, because they have this defined G center, for example, they might be like, yeah, I know I'm going to probably do a move here pretty soon. I'm going to relocate across the country. But they are going to want to tune into that ego or heart energy center to decide when to pull the trigger on that. When are they taking action on it? And they'll know the right time if they tune into what the heart wants, what their heart truly wants. They may want to move across the country, but they may know, I just know it's not the right time because my heart's not 100% there yet, right? So that's how that might play out a little bit. Next, we have a projector. This projector has solar plexus defined here on the right-hand side, so they have emotional authority. And you will notice that they also have the ego or heart energy center defined, and they also have the splenic energy center defined. So the other voices in their chart are going to be the ego, heart wants, selfishly wanting things, and they're going to have the spleen, that's that survival instinct that's going to speak up and tell them like, hey, I smell a rat, something's not right here, go buy the donuts now, not later, that kind of thing. For this individual, they're going to be tuning into that emotional authority to ultimately make that decision. So this one can get a little tricky. I think with this combination, the spleen is probably going to be a little clearer, that voice. And I think the challenge is going to be the ego is going to be this very strong voice that's going to be like, hey, like I really want to quit our job and try to find a different job that does XYZ, because it's going to be the strong pull because the heart's going to want it. And that individual needs to be very conscious of tuning into that emotional authority to be like, when is right timing? Does that really feel aligned? And just double checking everything, because the ego, that will, that voice of the will, that willpower, that motivation can be a very strong voice. And I'm not saying it's not accurate. I want to be really clear. The heart wants what the heart wants, right? And that's okay. And people who have a colored in ego or heart energy center, whether or not it's their authority voice, should make friends with their wants, their selfish wants and desires. And again, selfish in the good sense of that word. And if they understand their human design, they should be allowing their voice of their authority to navigate and knowing when to take action or lean into what the heart wants. What this person needs to do is note that voice, because it is important, and write it down somewhere, put it on a vision board, whatever, but then wait to tune in for when is the time to take action on the thing. When is the time to maybe jump on LinkedIn or investigate new places to live, or like whatever it is. Because if the ego is not their authority and they take action from that place, it might create a lot of spinning or starting to do things prematurely. And it could lead to some frustration if they're not waiting for the right timing or the yes or no from the solar plexus to go. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Next, I want to show you a manifestor chart here. So this manifestor has a defined solar plexus energy center. So they have emotional authority. You'll notice that they have the ego or heart energy center defined. They've also got the G center defined. This manifestor is going to be navigating that voice of that heart pulling, those heart wants. They're also going to have that defined G center that's going to know direction in life, but they're going to need to tune into their solar plexus energy center to know if something's energetically correct for them or not, or if the timing is right to take action on the thing. I wanted to pull in this chart just because I thought it was interesting. So this person's got it super simple, right? This manifestor has ego authority. All they're doing is listening to what their heart wants, and then it's go time. So obviously they're tuned in to their strategy as well, which is informing people. But I just thought this was really cool when I was going through charts and I saw, wow, this person just like, they're just listening to the ego or what the heart wants, and then they're going for it. There's obviously challenges that come with this chart as well, because there's so many open centers. They're almost a reflector, but yeah, they don't have any other voices in their chart. And then I just wanted to close by showing that here we have a reflector chart, and obviously they have no inner authority because they don't have any energy centers defined or colored in, and they also don't have any voices. So reflector is a whole nother conversation that I'm not going to get into, but I didn't want to leave that energy type out. All right now, this is October of 2025. I am running a special where I'm doing a 2026 energy report for people who are interested for $33. If you look below, you will find a link to sign up for my newsletter. That is where you are going to be in the know when I do things like this, where I have offers that may be going on for a short period of time. And I just want to let you know I am very conservative with my communications. I'm not a spammer at all. It's really just a vehicle for me to let people know like what's going on, when I have deals going on or things that they might be interested in, or new videos like this to share. All right, so that's all I have, and I hope that this was helpful to you in some way.